And it's always this, I hate this lag
Oh gosh.
because it always takes a while for it to pick up on YouTube's end. But thanks,
Happy
y'all.
birthday to Ashley.
Hey. Thanks, Josh. Thank you. Yanni, why are you talking shit on my birthday? Bruh, like give me like one day. Like today should be the one day that you do not talk shit to me. It should be.
Yeah.
But thanks for the birthday wishes, y'all. We just literally said it. Like we're not sprinting or anything. We're just kind of chilling because I have not read a book in a week. But thank you y'all for the birthday wishes. It's really appreciated. So
birthday, it's Ashley.
Listen, like I told you, I wish, I don't know. I guess I really celebrated my birthday this weekend. Like I don't want to say I went crazy. I didn't go crazy. That's kind of me like running out. I didn't go crazy, but
yeah.
I didn't get in until 5:30. So I went out on Friday night, didn't get in until 5:30 Saturday morning, went out on Saturday and didn't get in until like 4:30 Sunday morning.
That sounds like fun, honestly.
Yeah. So it was
also so adorable that you and baby girl are like,
oh yeah, day party. Yeah. It was, so I spent my 28th birthday in the hospital. So that was fun. What'd somebody say? Okay, so MRA, I was telling Isabella how I spent my day today. I knew that I needed to get new tires because I thought I actually had a little bit more time. I thought I had to like maybe Christmas to get new tires. But then I had went to my parents and we had looked at one of the tires and it was like almost no tread left on the tire. So I was playing a dangerous game. So I spent today at Firestone getting 4 new tires, which adulting at its best. New tires and a new battery.
Oh, the battery too. Oh gosh.
And then it took them forever because they took the old battery out, and then they went to go put the new battery and they were like, oh, in the system it says this is the battery that should fit. And then like it was like 3 of them and they couldn't figure out how to get the battery back in. I was like, are you kidding me? They're like, we think
to know this stuff.
Right. They're like, oh, we think it's a little too big. So we're going to try another battery. And I'm like, y'all, like, get me out of here. So I was there from 8 a.m. until 2 o'clock this afternoon. I came home, literally slept for 2 hours, and then went and picked my daughter up from daycare. So here's to,
You've gotten like good cake or whatever your favorite dessert is.
I didn't listen.
I mean, I know you like pie. I mean, I know you like apple pie, but like
I love apple pie
on your birthday. But
yeah. So today was adulting. I was out in these streets this weekend, though. I'm not going to even sit here in front and lie and keep it coy. Like, I had fun this weekend.
Yeah, that's what my 21st was like. My parents threw me one party, and like literally, like I had like only a couple of friends there because like all my friends are scattered across the globe, literally because of college. And so like they're literally all the people there are like my parents' friends, which is fine. Like it's still fun. The food's still really good. And like my mom is an interior designer. So I think she has a little bit too much fun, like throwing parties. But like she can make like nothing, like something out of nothing. But so like my friends and I went out the night before to this like speakeasy that was like has like a hidden like literally has like a hidden door. And yeah, because I was like, I want to have fun, but like I don't want to do this in front of my dad. So
yeah, I know. I feel that energy because even when I called my parents the next day, they were like, "We don't want to know. We can have fun." I'm like, "Yeah, I had fun." Like,
he got hit on by like a guy in his 40s, and he only had one friend. I was with 2 of my friends, and then this guy in his 40s just like had to like stop us on the street and like tell us how great we looked. And he had like fully gray too, and he also only had one friend with him too. So I was like, dude, what do you think is gonna happen here? Like,
He said he wanted to shoot his shot.
He's
That's
like,
what
I
he
just
was
had to say
saying.
it. I just had to stop. You were just like, no, you didn't. But okay.
Yeah, no. He definitely said he wanted to shoot his shot. Yeah, it does. It like okay, so literally, I mean, even they cut me a deal because like when you go to like those tire places,
Like
like they'll
birthday
cut you.
card too and get like an extra bit too.
Yeah, so they'll cut. So he did buy three get one. So I only paid for three tires, but of course, you want to pay for good quality tires where the tread is gonna last. Those tires, oh man, because then you have to do the tires, then you do a balance and alignment.
Oh gosh.
And then I had to pay for the battery. So that's what it took me over $1,000. I was like, man, I did not want to drop over $1,000 on the car today. Like, you know how many books I could have bought with
Oh,
that
yeah.
money? And people were like, oh, like, you should buy books for yourself. And I'm like, not this year. Like, this is true.
I'll send you some books. Just tell me what. I love sending people books because like where you get a bookstore, we get like first we get so many arcs that like nobody like
Yeah.
me and our manager probably read the most of
Mhm.
everyone. And so some people don't even touch the arcs like because we're technically like a co-op. So like we have like over like 1,000 owners, like anyone can like buy a share. And so like owners are allowed to have access to the arc shelf. And so they just like sit there and like some of the publishers will just like send like 3 or 4 copies of the same arc. And I'm like, I guarantee you there are like 3 other people who would have loved one arc.
Yeah.
So to just have them sit on the shelf. And it's like, obviously I'm in college. So like, I know people who like books like and appreciate it, even though it means that even though it's like I'm not spending money, but I'm just like
Yeah. No, I get it. I have somebody reached out to me and asked me if I wanted a copy of what is the name of the book? Is it Masters of Poison? I don't want to get the title wrong. So hold on. I'm looking it up because I really don't want to. Yeah, Master of Poisons.
Reynolds book that I have an arc of. I will send you that.
That's my husband. But
it's like, oh gosh, this is like Ashley. Like someone needs to set the two of you up on a blind date. Like someone's got to know someone who can like give them a call.
I would say yes to it, but in real life, I think I have someone who would not appreciate that right now. So, so as much as I say that's my husband, it's kind of like, probably not in this moment. But yeah, like they reached out to me. They were like, "Do you want a copy of Master of Poisons?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I go to my mailbox to check the mailbox, and I like had gotten like 3 or 4 packages on the same day, and I was like, "What is this?" They sent me a copy of the same book, 3 copies of it. So I'm like, "Now I need to give away 2 copies. Like I don't need 3 copies of that book. Why did you send me 3 copies of it? Like that's crazy to me. Like that's a mess. That is a hot mess." Okay. Yes, Shama, I did. I got my nose pierced on Friday. I've had it pierced before. This is like my 4th time getting it pierced. So this is it's nothing new. But I just decided I wanted to get it re-pierced. Wait. Is everybody out? Everybody in the eyes. I will say I am unofficially off the market. I won't say officially yet. I'll say unofficially. We'll see what happens, but it's unofficial. So that's why I say the Jason Reynolds blind dates probably would not be a thing right now in this moment. What, Yanni? A lot has been happening behind the scenes. I've been very, very quiet. Well, not super quiet, but I've been quiet. Quieter than I usually am. Because I got a lot going on.
That got me, but I cannot believe that they sent you 3 copies of the same book.
Yeah, but you know that's happened to me before though, too, though. Like, okay.
Same day, too? Oh my God.
this one too, like The Charm Offensive. I have like 3 copies of that, and I'm like, why did y'all send me 3 arcs of one book? Like,
you know what I got
yes,
2 copies of? Empire of the Vampire. And I was just like, and you know, it had the same cover because you know they went like
that's crazy.
nuts with that book, and people were like going crazy with it. I was like, why did you send why did you send me 2? Like, really?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to read it to make sure it wasn't problematic.
Yeah.
Sell it, and they were like pushing it so hard, and like our rep was like pushing it at us so hard, and I was like, okay, I need to like read this because there are books that like we deliberately choose to like not put out or not sell. But I was like, you sent me 2 copies of this arc that you're like, it's so limited, everybody wants it. And then you also printed 4 different editions, and you still sent me 2
of the same edition.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that. And part of me wonders if like they put people, if it's like a mailing list type of situation, and then like people forget that someone else has already like sent a copy.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm like, man, like y'all really could not. I mean, those could have gone to someone else. I mean, granted, I'm gonna give the books away, but
yeah,
like, you know, it's just a waste of postage to be sending me 3 copies of a book.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. I mean, no, I didn't say he was official because I'm not officially. I said I am unofficially. It'll be different when I am officially off. I'm unofficially off. So he's not officially available. He may be unofficially available, but he's not 100% free.
They want to make sure you review it. Well, if somebody's doing that, I might get annoyed, honestly. Like,
yeah.
Just no, I wouldn't. But like, yeah. Well, you know what? That's true. We are talking about it now because they did send you 3 copies. So.
Exactly. So free promo. Really, free promo. I have been quiet and busy. I've been really busy with work too, so that's been a huge.
Yeah, how's work going? Because you've been working in like a new position.
Yeah, it's been wild. Like it's so cool, but I think that like it's so fast paced.
Yeah, you do the ordering now, right? Or you do the ordering now, right?
Yep. So it's a different ball game. Like having to sort through everything that comes through publishing, and like we purchase 2 months in advance. Yeah. So going through things, and you know, I can't read everything because I do 0 to 18. So there's no way. I mean, we're down to like board books, picture books, beginner readers, you know, chapter books, middle grade. Why? Like, it's so much. There's no way I could possibly keep up with it. So like, then I have to go back and like look at reviews and stuff, you know, really, really dive deep into whether I think it would be a good fit for the collection. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a whole lot of time.
Yeah. Are you guys having like, I know we are at the bookstore, like, are you having like issues like with shipments coming in?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I swear I have ordered, like, especially through Ingram, like also on Thursday, I have 2 events. Like I have one event that I'm working like at Cornell, which can be, and then I have to go to the other college because like for another like to sell books at that event. And we put the orders in like weeks ago, and they still haven't arrived. And the event's on Thursday, and they're like, "Oh, it's gonna get there on Thursday." I'm like, "Yeah, right." But
who did you order it through? Ingram?
Yeah.
And usually, what's crazy is though Ingram has been better than Baker and Taylor. Baker and Taylor has been
sell to bookstores anymore. I don't think. Like,
yeah, Baker and Taylor has been really, really rough. I don't want to say they're trash, but they've been so short that they've been unable to like. We haven't gotten anything on time through Baker and Taylor, and Ingram was pushing stuff out pretty quick. But then we just got an email from Ingram last week where they're like, order stuff as far in advance as you can because now they're in the process of having delays as well.
It's funny, like because like, you know, I order, you know, just books for myself too. And like I will put in pre-orders like weeks in advance, and like the book will not come in until like after publication day. And like usually what they do is like, unless it's like a book like the Obama book or like the Margaret Atwood book, like, and you know, other things like, you know, like Sabbath Tahir, Sarah J. Maas, those still are considered like street smart. Like they will send those like out like 10 days before release day. And like for like some people, like for these big titles, like people end up losing out on business because if it's such a highly anticipated title, people will just go to the Barnes and Noble where they know that it'll be. But yeah, they used to be fast. It's like all like clogged up, and we're all just like, ugh.
Yeah, we're having the same issues. Like we just, because people ask us like, when is this book going to come in? We're like, I can't like stuff. I mean, I can order stuff because, like I said, most of the carts that I see on Baker and Taylor, they're 2 months in it. Some of them are even for like farther in advance, like 3 to 4 months. But we order 2 months in advance. So I could order things 2 months in advance, and I'm not going to get it on a release date. So I think a lot of people have been like heavily relying on the stuff that I order through Overdrive.
Yeah.
So like getting the ebook and the audio copy, because those actually I can have like on release date. But yeah, there's stuff that I ordered back in June that's released right now that is still it's not here.
It's supposed to just be like a labor shortage, I'm guessing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely a labor shortage. Somebody had a question. Mary had a question. Isabel, you can answer this too. Are there any restrictions on what you can and cannot order?
Do you want me to start or do you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
So no. So I work at an independent bookstore. We can order like there are certain books that we can't get. Usually we either order through a service called Ingram, which is like this big, gigantic distribution company, which has like all the books that your traditional publisher will have, but then it'll also have, like a lot of like your academic, a lot of like books that are published through academic presses and like independent presses, as well as like some independently published, like, or self-published books, like, Scarlett St. Clair, like it'll have those as well. But we can really only can get books either directly through the publisher or through Ingram. So if we can't get a book, if a book's not available for whatever reason at one of those, then we physically cannot get it. But if you're talking about like restrictions, like on what we're allowed to order, I think it depends. I mean, I think libraries are different because a lot of it is, Ashley will speak to this, like, and censorship is different, and like you're towing a finer line, especially when you're funded by, either like local, like you're given money essentially by the city or by the government. But for indies, like we can decide, we don't want to carry this book because, we don't think that, like, we just don't want to be associated with that. There have been times where we've ordered books, like, for example, I think it was the most recent Robert Galbraith book. Like we had ordered it because like we order things very much like we order things like the season before, like through the catalogs. And so like, yes, like, and because we know we have a lot of like, if there's a lot of like old white people who really love their mystery, who really love their detective novels. And so like we do order them. And then when we found out, like the reviews started coming out, and we found out, because I don't think there were galleys for that one, we found out that like, not only is the author absolute trash, like, because we knew that, but like, then we find out that the book has like problematic content that is like actively transphobic. And so we're like, well, we've already gotten them in. We're just going to keep them behind the counter. And like, if people ask for them, we'll give them, but like, we're not going to reorder it. So like, we can, like, if you have, just kidding, text.
I thought it was me. That's why I was like, why is my phone like, I'm not.
Something about 4 salmon rolls, I think, from one of my roommates. But yeah, so like, there are restrictions in terms of there are certain things that we just can't get. Like there are things that unfortunately you can only get through Amazon. And then there are, I guess, for indies that are private, businesses, there are like things that sometimes morally you might decide as a business that you're restricting yourself from getting. Yeah. And you have to live with also losing out on the business for that. Because, like as horrible as, Robert Galbraith is, their books are still sell a lot. And so we're actively still making the decision that that something else is more important than making sales. Though there are people like businesses who can't, make that decision.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a little different for me. We do have what most libraries have is a collection development policy, which dictates like what you do or do not purchase. And I won't go into specific details. Y'all know that like I'm nitpicky about going into specific details, but usually your collection development policy will dictate what you can and cannot buy, or what you will and will not purchase. For me, of course, it is different. Like when it comes down to morality, that's kind of, we can't really put ourselves into that situation. So even if like with the Robert Galbraith book, like
Yeah.
we individually may be like, she's trash, the book is trash. It's like, we still would buy copies of it. Um, I will say like a lot of how I determine things is, of course, I look at how movement has already been with that author, popularity of the book already, like if it's gotten a lot of buzz. Um, of course, I'm big on diversity. That's a huge thing for me when I sit down and I do ordering. And I think for us, it even gets a little bit more strategic because then, like, you have to determine, like, well, how many copies am I going to get? And then if I order X amount of copies, what locations are these copies going to go to? So it's kind of it's a twofold process for me. We also use Ingram, we use Baker and Taylor, because they're major distributors. And then also, you get cut a percentage off of that list price, but they're still expensive. Books are
You get
extremely
40% discount, like, you get, like, 40%, like, at least from Ingram for us, like, we get, like, a
Yeah,
40.
yeah. Ingram gives a pretty good discount, but still, like, I know for us, even like buying new books, I mean, it's not as cheap, I think, as some people think it is. It's kind of it's difficult. So then you have to make some hard decisions about like what are you gonna get, what are you not gonna get, like maybe this is a title that I need to keep in my back pocket for later on if I have funds available. So yeah, not necessarily like I want to say restrictions. Restrictions are a little different, but there are policies that guide you into how you purchase. But yeah, it's a tedious
Yeah.
process, man. I
Mhm.
think
I'm
people
glad
think
I'm
that,
not the buyer, like, our general manager does the buying, like, I put the orders through, and I'll be like, "For an event, like, we're having all the like, just here are the
yeah,
orders." He has to deal with, like, ordering them.
yeah.
Like,
I
it's
don't have
a
to do
hard
so.
job. It's
So
really
for
hard.
me, I don't process the order, like create like the PO and stuff like that. Um, I guess you could look at my role as more like a selector. So like
Creator.
so I put the carts together and then there's another individual that actually pushes that cart through, creates a PO, and then makes sure that everything is received on when the shipments come in.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's a lot, especially because if you think about just like with youth collections, like how many youth related titles come out every
Oh god,
single month. Not even like it's crazy. And I don't think even I realized it because I think
Mhm.
like being in like, Bookstagram and Booktube, like there are titles that get a lot of buzz and
Yeah.
it doesn't always feel like there's a lot coming out, but
Mhm.
there's 10 times the amount coming out than what we see
Yeah.
like within our
I
community.
learned that too working at a bookstore because, like,
Yeah.
what's funny is, like, every single book is well, at least from traditional publishing, is released on a Tuesday, um, like, every single Tuesday, so then it'll be, like, 30 different like, especially, like, there are certain days where, like, there are more books
Mhm.
coming out than others, but they'll be like, "This Tuesday, oh gosh, we have, like, 50 books, then we have to, like, put out on the store and, like, rearrange the shelves so everything fits." It's, like it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Let's see. You don't just pay for a comic book, but also like how many times it um mm, not physical. So physical, you're literally just paying for a copy of the book. And you don't know how many times it's going to circulate because you may get a book that is just highly circulating on its own, or you may get a book that doesn't circulate as much as you think is going to circulate. That concept comes in with ebooks. Ebooks are tricky. So I always tell people like, oh yeah, when you say, oh yeah, my library has ebooks and audiobooks, like there's restrictions that come with that. Like some of them they tell you you can only have a certain amount of checkouts per copy, or you can only have a copy of this book for a year or 2 years, and then you have to repurchase that book. So I think the ebook and audiobook game is a little more expensive. Um, I mean, maybe not. I think it depends on how you look at it because buying physical books can be expensive too because what if somebody damages a copy? You take that risk too. When you buy these copies, people are taking them home. You don't know what condition they're going to come back in. So they may have a long shelf life or they may not have a long shelf life. But that concept of paying for how many times it could be borrowed is strictly, for at least in my experience, is strictly applicable to ebooks and e-audiobooks. That's where it comes from. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so like, just like, what are some of like the books that you're seeing that are getting a lot of buzz? Like, I can tell you some of the ones like right now, like, I'll tell you in a second, but like, I'm curious because obviously.
I mean, for us, jeez, man, it is so hit or miss. Like, I could tell you with the YA stuff, the stuff that has had a lot of holes. Of course, what's the name of the book that I gave 5 stars to?
Which
The
one?
Dark Academia, 2 Black kids on the cover, takes place at a boarding school. Ace of Spades. Knew I could talk to a lady.
Yes.
Okay, so Ace of Spades
so good.
Ace of Spades had a high circ. Anything that really, when you see like book clubs get a hold, like Reese Witherspoon's YA book club, those always get high, regardless of whether the book is popular or not. So Tokyo Ever After, that got high circ numbers. The Taking of Jake Livingston got high circ numbers. And Book Talk actually plays a role.
Oh gosh, yes. Elton, for example. Oh my gosh, there are so many books like in Barnes and Noble that like a year ago, Barnes and Noble like would not have carried them because they're self-published, but now because Book Talk, like they're finally carrying them. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. Like, I remember looking at One of Us Is Lying, and I was like, that book is old. And granted, like I think it was like
why, but
yeah, it was like a 3-star read for me, and I was like, okay, and I didn't realize that book was making its rounds on Book Talk, so the circ numbers shot up. Like, people were like dying to check the book out, and I'm like, where were y'all when this book first became published?
The TV show is also coming out really soon.
Say it again.
The TV show for that one is also coming out really soon.
Yeah,
But I'd say Book Talk is probably bigger. Like, I'm on Peacock. I'm just like, Red Queen was purchased by Peacock too, and I'm like, why? Like, how did Peacock get some
of that stuff? Who knows?
Because like that's an industry. So I'm just like, sometimes I still look at it. I'm like, do y'all have I don't think y'all understand how expensive some of this stuff is going to cost you.
Yeah.
And like, you've got people who are crunching the numbers. Like, most of the stuff that gets optioned doesn't actually get made.
It doesn't. And I wish people knew that when stuff gets optioned, it's just getting optioned. It doesn't mean that it's going to actually make it through the process.
Option. So like an option price is like not like when you hear about like people like, oh, they bought it for like an outright buy is different than like an option. You can renew the option. Like, usually it's written in your contract. You can, like, if you don't get it made in 12 months, and you just renew it for another 12 months and another, and it's like a mess.
It is a mess. Yes, it does. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Like, that's what tables, like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's like a trending on Bookstagram table like at Barnes & Noble, but there's like a trending on TikTok table. Everything
that I have seen with like back titles getting a lot of buzz. I mean, the newer stuff I think is just getting buzz because it's just getting a lot of push in terms of marketing. But anything that's a backlist title that I've noticed that has gotten high circ numbers is because of Book Talk.
Yeah. Like the big ones, like I'm seeing a lot of We Were Liars too, and I'm also like, why? Because like I had to read that book in middle school or like the beginning of high school, and like I remember like thinking like it was good at the time, but like I don't know. There's like a lot of Penelope Douglas and then Scarlett St. Clair. She got like an actual, like, she was self-publishing all her books. And Books is now publishing all of her stuff, which is like insane. That like, and it's because of Book Talk. Peacock is Universal Studios. Yeah, it is part of Universal, but it is network TV, and network TV generally has lower budgets than cable or streamers. Oh, hi, Beth.
Speaking about titles, are there any other books that have surprised you that are getting big now? I don't think there's anything that's really, I mean, because I look at it through a different lens now. Like, I mean, oh gosh, I feel very detached from Booktube right now. And that's not any anybody's fault. It's just I'm so busy that I just have been. I'm literally immersed in books all day long, and I don't know. Like I'm in it all day, so when I come home, that's the last thing that I want to do is be immersed in it, even more. Um, honestly, you go because I don't think I have any.
Lag, so like I'm interrupting you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I was gonna say, when you look at the types of books that are trending on TikTok, they're kind of like the same type of book. I think Bethany kind of talked a little bit about it in her video where she was like reacting to a lot of them. Like when you look at like, you got Neon Gods, A Touch of Darkness, like the off-campus books, like obviously they're very different books, but like they're also not. Like it's a very specific type of book that people are going after. But there are books that, like, I am kind of surprised, like, about Red Queen, for example. Like, obviously that's just the one that's coming to my head because, like, obviously it's a big bestseller. Like, her books are always going to be bestsellers. But a lot of the book community, like, that was a book that a lot of people were underwhelmed by, for example. And so now that one is so big and everyone's like, oh, this book is so good. And a lot of other people are just like, that book, like, is almost bigger now than it was when it came out. Because that book came out when I was in, like, I think that book might have come out when I was 14, 15, came out when I was in high school. And now it's like only in the past few months, they've just revealed that, like, and it was optioned before, but then the rights reverted back to the author. And like, it's now been bought by like Elizabeth Banks at Peacock. So it's like, it's getting like, there are these books that are like regaining traction. And it's like, some of them, like, I'm glad to see. Some of them, I'm like, I'm not glad to see, but I'm just a little like, like being like, like it's not the first book that like I would have picked to like go viral. But then there are also books that are like, that I'm glad that a lot of self-published books that like because there are, like I said, like there are limited, working at a bookstore and like learning, more about sort of, specifically like the Amazon and like, like I definitely, like I used to order from Amazon like all the time. When I started working at a small business, like a lot of people can't make that decision, but when I started working at a small business, specifically like that works with books, I started to realize just how harmful Amazon was to that industry. And so then I stopped doing that. And so then I stopped really getting a lot of the self-published books. But now that TikTok is like bringing them back, like I'm, seeing them again. Like the Atlas 6 is something that I probably wouldn't have picked, the Atlas 6 off campus. Those are things I never, A Touch of Darkness, things I would never have picked up, I don't think, if it weren't for TikTok. That made me laugh. I was like,
it is. Reading is like the new cool thing. Like, and it's mind-boggling because I used to get bullied for it. So this is
I know. Kids like in middle school, like, you come with a new book every day.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life? Like,
and now everybody wants to be a reader, which power to it, because as a librarian, I'm like, literacy. Finally, people think it's cool.
I know. And it's also like, Song of Achilles, when did that come out? 2012? Earlier? I don't know. But there are like books that are like from like back when I was in middle school. Like the collection came out when I was in 6th grade.
But see, but I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, Yanni, you do make a good point, because it's like I keep trying to navigate like, but all these great books that are coming out like now, and y'all are going back to when YA was really coming into its new.
It wasn't as diverse.
Exactly. It was trying to come into its own. It really wasn't diverse. A lot of the stories were very similar to each other. YA went through that whole
collection, Hunger Games,
the dystopian phase, like Divergent, Maze Runner, like.
It was like, I feel like when I was like, I literally read everything that was just, everything was dystopian, and it was just because like that's what everyone was like. Even Legend, which was more written by Marie Lu, of course, like that still is dystopian. Like it's almost YA
has come along. I mean, I still feel like YA has a lot of leaps and bounds to make. But it's come a long way from where it used to be, even when I really started dabbling into YA. Because, I was part of that group when Divergent and all that stuff came out. And, I mean, I read that stuff now. Like, I had to reread a lot of that stuff when I took my YA lit class, it had to be, it either had to be like fall of 2017 or spring of 2018. I took that class. So I had to go back and reread a lot of that stuff. And it does not hold.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't. Like, I remember, like, how We Bet was, like, that Twilight live show was, like, my first time being on a live, and I just could not articulate what I was trying to say about those books because, like, I was just, like, reading it what I was like, I'm having fun reading this because, like, this is a fun reading
Yeah.
experience for me because, like, I'm going back to when I was 12 and, like, now, like, like, about to graduate from college, like, I kinda wish I was 12 again and, like, don't have to figure out how to be an adult so soon, but, like, was the book good? No.
Mhm. Yeah.
But also I remember when The Hate You Give, it came out when I was in my junior year of high school, and, like, I'd gotten an arc of it, like, because they had no idea that it was gonna be as big as it was, even though they
Mhm.
paid a lot of money to, like HarperCollins paid a lot of
Yeah,
money.
she did good in the bidding war, did she
Yeah,
not?
it was like I think it was a major deal, which means, like,
Okay.
500 and up, but, like, they still didn't know, like, because, like, of what that topic is, and it was and at least in YA, it was the first book that was published that was YA, that was directly inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, like, as it is called today, like, that
Mhm.
particular organization, and so, like, thinking about, like, that now, I'm like, I was 16, like, I'm only 21 now, but, like, I was
Mhm.
16 when that was only the first book in YA that, you know, was inspired by that. Like, it
Mhm.
took like, that was only, like that's, like, 6 years ago. Like,
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
mind-boggling to me that's how short of a time period it was.
I think too that I think access to, because I always tell people, like, I do think that that book is, like you said, directly inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. It is not the first YA book that addresses police brutality. And it's interesting because specifically think about a lot of like YA Black, um, a lot of YA Black authors they never got that recognition, especially people like, Sharon Draper,
Mhm.
people like, why am I forgetting his name? Walter Dean Myers, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
these are the writers that
Or just
actually inspired
gosh, what
Angie
is his name?
Thomas.
Not Buddy,
Yeah,
Curtis.
yeah, oh, what is,
And I just know it because my brother read it and he loved it, and he does not read. And so, like, I at a conference, I literally, like, got in line to get it signed for him and, like, made a little video because, like, like, because these are the things, like, this is a kid who doesn't read, and, like, this
yeah,
is
yeah,
one of the first books that he reads, and he loves it because he
yeah,
can see himself in it.
yeah.
Gosh, what is his name?
I can't
Curtis?
remember. He also wrote The
Yeah,
Washingtons Go to
otherwise I'm gonna
Birmingham.
go
The
nuts.
Watsons Go to Birmingham.
Yeah.
That's the name of the book. Yes, Christopher Pearl Curtis. Thank
Christopher
you, Faye.
Curtis.
Thank you. Yeah,
Curtis.
Mildred D. Taylor, like, for me, those are pioneering Black authors that inspired this new wave of YA Black writers, and it always bothers me a little bit because I feel like they don't get that recognition that they deserve for the work that they did to uplift, um, a lot of the Black writers that you see nowadays. And I mean, you'll have Jason Reynolds, you'll have Nick Stone, that core group who will say stuff like, those are the authors that inspired them to even pick up the
Mhm.
pen and start writing, but they're often left out of the narrative. And I think people also don't realize how old YA really is as like an age breakout. It wasn't always defined as
Yeah.
YA, but YA is not it's not such a new concept. It didn't just come around in
Mhm.
2013. YA has been
Yeah.
I mean, The Outsiders
The
is considered
Outsiders,
one
yeah.
of yeah,
That's
it's
a
considered
cool
one of the
project from mine in
first.
high school, like, I traced the origins of YA and was like, it started
Yeah,
with Outsiders.
The Outsiders. Yeah, The Outsiders. And some people will take it back to the concept of creating books for youth,
Oh,
um
sure.
even back to like the 30s and the 40s and stuff like that. But The Outsiders is always given that key point of like, okay, and this it started in the 60s. So it's
Yeah.
interesting, I think, kind of when I took that class and kind of now like being so in it and watching the evolution of YA to the point that it is today. And it has made a lot of leaps and bounds. I would say, there's always room for improvement with anything, and publishing definitely can take a note. But I mean, from where it's been, it's made some progress. It's
Yeah.
made, yeah,
Yeah, it
it's made
definitely
some
has.
progress.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see it. Like, you can always like acknowledge that things have come a long way, even if it still has further to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think Jewel Parker Rose. Like, I think maybe
Yes.
because I think what it is that like Ghost Boys, one of my favorite books, like that book broke me. But that was only that's a pretty like it came out like within the last couple of years, and I that book because people are because of everything that's happened in like the last few years, people are latching on to stories that specifically deal with police brutality. That one has gotten, a lot of attention, and for good reason, because it is beautiful. Like, I mean, saying beautiful, like considering what it does, but I think it's an incredible book. And literally, I've taken a class this semester called Kids Rule. It's like children's popular culture. So I literally had to buy a Magic Treehouse book.
I love Magic Treehouse.
I do really like the professor because she's a white lady, but her son is like, her husband grew up as Black, grew up in apartheid South Africa. So her son is mixed race, and so I can tell like she's deliberate. Like, she picked the Jackie Robinson Magic Treehouse book. She picked Towers Falling by Jewel Parker
Rose. Yeah.
She picked All American Boys, which is for the YA unit. Originally, she picked this book called like American Heart or something because like because it was controversial. Like it was controversial for like the same reasons that American Dirt was. I think it's called American Heart too, which is kind of funny. But then she said she started reading it and she was like, oh God, this is too bad. I cannot teach this, and like tossed it. I was like, okay, we're gonna do All American Boys instead. But yeah, Jewel Parker Rhodes, I think at least they're finally getting their due, I guess, but like it should have happened a long time ago.
Jewel Parker Rhodes is the first book that I read by Jewel Parker Rhodes was Bayou Magic. And that was an amazing book. But I think too, I'm talking specifically about Booktube. I think it depends on what corners of Booktube you're in, because there are some people who really heavily delve into children's lit, or they read middle grade, or those ones that kind of service like that kind of crossover where it could kind of be middle grade, or it could also be YA, like Genesis Begins Again for me by Alicia D. Williams. That book definitely is one that it teeters, although it's won awards that are specifically delegated for children's lit. I think that it does have some thematic things going on that it can be for like the lower end of YA, but I wish that it wasn't such a niche within our community. Like, I wish it was more widespread, that these authors were getting their consistent shine, and not like saying like, I have to find this specific corner of Booktube in order to hear people talk about these books. That's always something that I struggle with. And I think that's just kind of my background and what I do, that I kind of have a leg up too, because I'm exposed a little bit more than the average person. I think you see more because you work as a bookseller. So, you have a leg up in that way, but there
are also things that like you don't get exposed to that you should have. Like the only reason like that I know about certain authors that are deemed like that are problematic and that like I know about it because of this community. Like, if like most of the booksellers that I work with, they will not know about something unless it's in the New York Times or on Publishers Weekly. Like, hence why everybody knows about She Who Must Not Be Named, because it was widespread enough that like these major outlets were writing articles about it, but people do not know about other things. So like I think it goes both ways. But you are exposed to like things, and I do think like there needs to be more groups like for crossover. Like, I do think New Adult needs to be like a more widespread thing, like have its own section. And I do think that there is something in between middle grade and YA.
They're different, especially for tweens. Like, tweens are the hardest people to
like tweens versus teens like is still like very different. Like,
it's still very different, and they're so hard to rec for. Whenever I used to have to do like a lot of readers advisory, like tweens were the hardest to rec for, because it was almost like they age out of the children's section, but content wise, they weren't 100% ready to be
11-year-olds who are reading, like there's one 11-year-old who comes into the store, like her mom, I think is like an owner. She's really into reading. Like the thing is, like, I look at it now and I'm like, I don't know that you should be reading that. But then I think I'm like, when I was 11, I would have been reading it. Like, remember she came in and she literally like sat there, like her mom came and picked her up and like bought her the book. Like, I guess she probably came after school or whatever and was like hanging around. She like read like half of With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo, and she's like 11. And I'm just like looking at that, I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah. But on the other hand, I'm like, a kid, I think, a kid who takes the initiative also to go after books and try to find something they like is probably a little bit more mature than one who's, not taking that initiative.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's hard, especially when you start. I know for me, like on the back end, when I used to deal with kids who were like, when we start getting into like reading levels.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, dealing with kids who have high reading levels, but content wise, I just would not, we can't act in local parentis. So for us, it's kind of like the material is there, it's accessible, but we have it in that section because of content.
Exactly.
I'm not going to tell you what you should or should not do because that is your child. But, I had a parent come in when we move. What's the series? Oh gosh, by Sarah J. Maas.
Blaster or Akatar?
Akatar. We moved Akatar from teen to adult. Like,
yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that one is like, what's funny is like, yes, like I'm all about like, I'm just like, as a Black person, like I'm all about like, diversity. And it's like, yes, it's funny because like Sarah J. Maas is my favorite author, but that book, she wanted that book to be, she sold it to her publisher as new adult. Because at the time, like they thought new adult was going to become its own section.
Yeah.
And then of course, because the publishers, they only care about money, they made the decision because she'd already had these YA books. And the first book is a little bit like, it's definitely risque for YA and the character is 19, but like you could make the argument that it's more that like it could lean a little bit YA. The second, once it goes off, it goes off.
Yeah.
But she wanted it to be new adult and they deliberately decided to put it in the YA. And she's like, okay. And then like, I think, well, she has a new editor now. And like with the fourth book that is, really
adult. We straight had that in adult.
Decided, okay, we're going to repackage the covers.
Yeah.
We're going to go out of print. We're going to like literally get rid of this, which is definitely the right decision. And again, like that thing, like new adult is a thing, like the, 18 to 24 age range, like is, it's, see the Black kids. I liked the Black kids a lot, but the main character drove me nuts.
I did not like it. Yeah, I saw that comment and I meant to highlight it. Hold on. There we go. Chrissy. Yeah, like it is crazy because I talked to another children's librarian.
Oh my
God. Yeah, it is. It is 30 years ago. But yeah, it was interesting because I was talking to a teen librarian and children's librarian at a location, and the teen librarian was asking for more historical fiction. I was like, well, technically, there's a book called The Black Kids that was released last year. I could see if I can get you a copy of that because technically that, that's historical fiction. And it is crazy to think that, that it's centering the LA riots in 92, and 92 is considered historical fiction. But I mean, outside of that, it was not. I have my thoughts about that book. I think The Black Kids did very well because of the release. The timing of the release, I think, worked out.
No. They literally pushed it up. I got it because I got an email about that, like from Simon and Schuster. Like it was supposed to come out in like September or something. They literally sped it up a couple of weeks because they knew.
Yeah.
They deliberately, I remember getting the email. Like I vividly remember them getting the email and being like good for the author because it did make the bestseller list, and I think that's important. It did because the lists are so rigged. But then I was also like, can you not use a Black woman like this during this time?
Yeah. I think that if it wasn't released in that moment, how it was released, I don't know if it would have done so well. I just don't. I get the intent. I got a lot of, and I read 2 books back to back. It was The Black Kids and Blackout. I read those 2 back to back, and it was like, I get the intent, but the execution was not there for either one of them for me.
Enough to Blackout. I was
so disappointed.
I brought it back to the store. I was like, to my manager, I was like, hey, do you want to read this? She's like, sure. And like took it, and then she brought it back too. But like, because like I would send that book out like to someone, I would give it to someone else, and I saw at least that like you like were receiving it, like Jess was receiving it, like all my friends, like, and I was like, they're also realizing that I was like, I don't think they're gonna like it either. But like, I don't know. It was just, like also the Obamas like bought clearly. I mean, they like
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they bought Netflix. Man, I'm like, of all the things to adapt.
I know there's a lot of others you could have.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that you could have. Yeah, you know this is that. I mean, it's a lot of books that did well last year.
Blackout bestseller list was happening. Everything happening. It's around like all of. It just like I just like get sad just even talking about it because like I mean it was. I remember like you and I were like messaging and like because of how rough that time was, but there were a lot of things, just a lot of popular authors just like giving away books by or like purchasing books by Black authors to give away. There was a whole Blackout bestseller list initiative. Like there was just a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, but that book, I wonder. I mean, obviously, like marketing involved. It's got a pretty cover, but I wonder, like that's also a different. The character, like the circumstances of the main character in that book are different than I think what a lot of people are like. They're different than your Star Carter. They're different than Justice and in Dear Martin. Like it's a different type of like it's like a rich girl, and like I
privilege.
Like if that plays a role.
I can definitely see it playing a role, and I think that it was a good idea. I think it was to show how you can be marginalized and also have a point of privilege in some way. And Ashley definitely, she had a point of privilege, and that privilege sheltered her from a lot of things that she was not.
Kind of a bothersome character, and like I could see it. It was like I was looking at her, and I was like almost like I was like, am I like this? Because like her circumstances were like more similar to mine, and I was looking at this, and I was just like taking a step back, like I don't know, and I was like, I think it's just that it was more of a dramatic effect, but she was something else.
Well, Ashley was a mess.
And I was like, I don't know, her name's Ashley too. I feel
like that pissed me off. I was
like, oh no, Ashley's gonna be like, not.
Man, like if she had to be named like, oh man, Shay, I know you did not. First of all, let me tell y'all not gonna drag the books that I liked on this live. I'm just telling you. Like, first of all, you have Ace of Spades.
Her video, I love Jess. Like, we're tight, but like, I remember her. She was like, I'm not enjoying this.
Shay, you dragging white smoke. What's going on with y'all? Like, yeah, hold on. Yeah, but it's a good selling point. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's what I will say is I did appreciate the hate you give. I mean, like again, I haven't reread it in a bit, but it is the kind of like I think at least from what I remember, I thought it was really great. And also it's one of those books that, at the school I went to, really white private school, it was like required reading like for the 8th grade. None of the parents had a problem with To Kill a Mockingbird, but they threw a fit when the got like added. And, I'll just.
Oh no. Y'all sitting here talking about you dragging. Okay, let me put it this way. I did say in my wrap up, I did say that the ending of White Smoke was going to possibly be a deterrent for people, because I will not say that for me it wasn't as good as Grown. Grown was a 5-star read for me last year.
Fantastic.
White Smoke is I'm still floating I think I'm gonna fall on
It
a
was so
4.
scary, which is why I haven't read it yet,
Oh
because
yeah, it's scary as hell.
this is gonna sound bad, like, I know that I'm 21 years old, but, like, I'm kind of in like, I'm in upstate New York in the middle of nowhere by myself right
Oh
now,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"I don't wanna read it without my mom."
yeah. Nah, nah. I mean, I live around people, and the fact that my neighbors were moving was tragic enough for me. It is. I think her writing ability. Tiffany D. Jackson is a gifted writer, just in general. She's a strong writer. She's one of the best ones out there in terms of writing ability, and I appreciate that. I think that what a lot of people are going to see when they read White Smoke is that they're not going to like how she executed the ending, because there were a couple of holes that weren't tied up as neatly as I think people are going to want them to be. And I can respect that opinion. I really can. Or there was a couple of things that were not explicitly explained, a couple of reoccurring themes that were happening that I think weren't 100% explained, but um, I got the gist of it. The writing was good, the pacing was good. She put the fear of God in my heart.
Mm.
So for me it was a good book. I don't, like I said, I can't hold it to the same standard as Grown, um, because I think Grown was just beautifully done. Like, and it probably was just a connection that I felt to Grown, but I can see people not enjoying White Smoke as much as
Yeah.
Grown, in some of that ending
Mhm.
pieces being an issue.
Yeah, I think I gave Grown 4 stars. Like, I can't remember why I gave it 4 stars, not 5
Mhm,
stars. I remember thinking it was really great, and, like, I chose it for the store's, like, well-read Black girl book club, because it's also just, and I remember because like, it came out in September, and, like, I remember you remember, like, I had
mhm.
horrible roommates last
Yeah.
year,
Yeah, you did.
and they had a lot of R. Kelly, like, well, they had his famous songs, like, on their playlist that they were incapable of going to like, taking a shower without listening, without having their speakers on, like, there's a lot of music playing all the time, and they would play a lot
Mhm,
of R. Kelly, and I was like, "Can you please turn this off? Like, I'm not comfortable listening to this."
mhm.
Um, and they're like, be like, "Okay, sure, fine." And then they'd stop, and then they'd play it again, and then it became a point where they thought it was funny to,
Funny,
like,
yeah.
me, and I was like, "I don't know what I don't like, I know you guys are all white, but, like, I don't know where you like, do you not understand, like, that this is not funny, okay? These are real people who are
Mhm.
getting hurt by this." Like, I'm also from Chicago, so, like, I think it, you know, maybe it also hits in that sense that it's
Yeah,
so close to me
yeah,
physically, but I'm just like, "This is not funny. This is not funny." They didn't read books, which is another thing, but there are people I think Grown also showed why, because obviously she made the point, like in her author letter, she talked about how this is not a book about R. Kelly. It's a book about someone else, but it's about that situation. It's about that kind of situation.
mhm, that power
And I think,
dynamic, yeah.
yeah, and I think that like the mute, hashtag mute R. Kelly and all of that. And I think a lot of people weren't really getting how that would be effective,
Mhm,
or like what the intention behind that doing or what it was going to accomplish. And I think that that book showed not only that, but also the ways in which people are able to take advantage of young Black girls,
yep,
and get away with it because society decides that they don't matter.
yep.
And I think that, and I think that that is really important for people to see. Um, and yeah, it's Tiffany Jackson is fantastic.
Yeah,
Did
she
you like
is.
your section of Blackout? Because I know that there were a handful that you said were better than others.
Say it again?
For Blackout, like, I know you said there were like
Oh, yeah, yeah, what stories in there
was
did I like
was
better?
better, or
So, yeah, so it's an interesting, 'cause you haven't read it yet, have you?
I started it and then I was like, I don't know about this. Then
Yeah, yeah. So,
I brought it back to the store.
I already am not a huge fan of anthologies, because of the fact that I mean, it's so hard to rate an anthology, because some of the stories can be like awesome, some could be horrible, some could be middle of the road. But like for me, I like Tiffany D. Jackson's work. That she actually she had more than just one story. Like, her story was extended throughout the book, which was
Yeah.
interesting, that the way that they set that up. But like Nick Stone's story, for example, like it was too in your face, trying to show somebody being like, oh, I'm with the shits, I'm woke. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that she often writes her stuff to incorporate a lot of social justice, social activism, which is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think that if you read a lot of romance, specifically Black romance, I think that they just did not hit the mark. I think a lot of Black romance readers would not enjoy that. And that was their intention, was to illustrate Black love and to show Black teens, you know, engaging in Black love. But it just like, yeah, like it was it was a breastfeeding thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
he literally, like, okay, we get that a woman should be able to breastfeed in public and people not fucking freak out. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But like the way she had her character talk about it, it was forced. It was unnatural. Like, it just didn't fit into the narrative of what was happening. It's almost like you wanted to prove that you have this Black man that was, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I feel like as a Black man, like, you should be actively aware of the fact that it is absolutely normal for a woman to breastfeed in public. But it just didn't flow with the rest of the story. It was so random that it came as almost a shock when you read it. You were like, wait, what? What does that have to do with anything that's going on in this narrative?
I was like just shocked seeing just the line out of context.
Yeah.
I was like, wait.
Yeah, it was just one of those weird things. I did not like Angie Thomas. Like, Angie Thomas's story was the worst out of all of them.
Yeah.
And I stand behind that, and not talking about her as a person or a writer, but I think it shows that some people are gifted in writing in certain genres or certain narratives.
Probably working on a fantasy right now, so I'm curious to see what she does with that.
Bro, that's like Adam Silvera. Like, stay in your lane. That's not your jam. Like, that's not you. Yeah. And I'm glad you want to try it out, but it should not come as a shock when people are like, this is not working, because it's just not, your writing style is not conducive to writing within this genre. Angie Thomas's writing style is not conducive to writing a romance. It just did not work. And hers was about self-love. And I just didn't like it at all. I was kind of about Nicola Yoon's story. I like Ashley Woodfolk's story because that's up her alley. She does a lot of contemporary stuff. I said Tiffany D. Jackson's stuff was good. Who else was on that anthology?
It was Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, Tiffany D. Jackson,
Nicola
Danielle Clayton.
I haven't really read anything from Danielle Clayton. Maybe it was Nicola Yoon's story that was okay, and I can't remember which ones they wrote out of the two of them. But the standouts to me were Ashley Woodfolk and Tiffany D. Jackson, to be honest. And I feel like I was generous with my rating. I gave it 3 stars, but honestly, I could have easily given that book like 2 or 2.5. To be quite frank, like it just wasn't. It was a disappointment. I was so pissed off after reading it. I was like, really?
Like, when the book came, I was like, well, this is really like, because when the package came, like I opened it, I was like, well, this book is like slim for know. Because I will say, like, I'm seeing stuff about anthologies, and like I agree, I didn't used to be an anthology person. I wouldn't say that I am now. But what I figured out though is that if you find like one that's edited by a certain person and you really like that one, and they do another one, chances are you'll enjoy that one. Like His Hideous Heart, which Dahlia Adler edited, which is like Poe, which like again, like at first I was like, what kind of teenager is gonna like want to read about Edgar Allan Poe? I loved it, and I think it did really well. And then the Shakespeare one that they did was really great, and people really liked. I thought it was really good, and they're doing like fairy tales. Like that's how I've been figuring out anthologies.
I think in August I read some middle of the road shit. Like, I don't know. It's like I went through a streak of like reading things that I was like, man, this is really like subpar. Like Cinderella, like you and I talked about this. I read Cinderella's Dead, and I was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best. But I know you were telling me, and someone else told me too at work that this Poison Heart was better than Cinderella's Dead.
Baron is moving to Ithaca, and so she's like kind of like a friend of the store, and like we're so excited. Like, so my boss loves Cinderella is Dead, and so like I read it and I really did like it. I really enjoyed it. It was also like reading it during lockdown, and it was for a fantasy, like I also have ADHD, so like a lot of the time with fantasy, even though I love fantasy, like it'll take me longer to read it because it requires me to sit still for a longer period of time. And so like it's light fantasy, and I just I love fairy tales. I really enjoyed it, but this Poison Heart was next level. I not recommend that one enough. It's like Little Shop of Horrors meets The Secret Garden with Greek mythology, and the character, like it has like this house that's like really fun. She has two moms who are both like really fun characters. Like one of them is just like going around with like a taser, like be like, how to protect this house, like with the like it's just so much fun and so well thought out. So yeah, I highly recommend that one. I have read Black Boy Joy. I really liked it. I didn't love it as much as I was expecting to. And sorry, answering one of the questions.
No. I because I actually have it sitting on my dining room table. Yeah. I haven't read it yet. I know who else read it?
I remember someone saying that like they were disappointed by it, like during like a live that I was watching. But I will say what was interesting to me about that one is that the authors who I loved, that like I was like who I love, like like B.B. Alston has a story in there. Oh gosh, I'd have to look up. Like there were authors in there whose stories I was expecting to really love, and I didn't. And like there were authors who I'd never read stories from before, or who I'd liked. Like I thought Kwame Mbalia's like, because what happened was his story is like, it's like in little bits and pieces, kind of like how Blackout is. Like he starts off the book, and then there's like an interlude of it, and like in the middle, and it's at the end, and it kind of frames the book. But then everyone else's are like randomly, just little anthologies. And like I thought his was really creative and really well done.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I feel like that book is just worth it just for the cover alone. I just
the cover is beautiful.
Cover of the year. It's so cute. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And I just think it's also just important because of in publishing, like just in just how covers tend to be. I just think it's like with his hair. Like I just think it's so beautiful.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I couldn't remember if you read it or.
I remember someone during a live saying like they weren't into it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like which stories, like who, because like it was kind of an all-star anthology. I feel like there were like
a lot of people on it, right?
Big people, yeah.
Okay.
Like I remember I was really excited that B.B. Alston had a story in there, and I remember like liking it, but like being kind of disappointed with it. But then who? Look this up.
I'm so ready for the next Mari book.
Oh, me too. It got pushed, but like the minute
it got pushed.
The minute it's on Edelweiss, I will send it to your Kindle. Like,
yeah, man, I'm so amped.
Me too.
For that next one. I cannot wait. And then also the next one in the Gilded One series.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. When is the next Legendborn book supposed to drop?
I think in the fall. Like not this fall. Like I think. Well, let me see. When is like I might.
Because I don't. Man, that's what I am bad at keeping up with. Like,
everyone needs to read Canon Battle. Okay, wait. I have it over here. It's like it was just because we just announced the Kids Indies Introduced list. Which is probably everyone's seeing those flying around. Like it was finally announced today, and so I was gonna take a picture of it because like I blurbed it. Like I got to call the author and tell him that his book was on made the list. It's like this. It's like this gorgeous cover.
Yes. I ordered copies of it.
But queer.
Yeah.
And everyone, it's so good. And like he's like really worried. It was like really worried. Like he's telling me in like DMs, he was like worried because like I knew that the book was. It was a lot. Like there's like a period of time where like before the authors were notified, where just the booksellers like knew about it, like that it was going to be on the list, and like that I couldn't, couldn't say anything. He was like really worried that it wasn't going to do well. Like I know he sent a copy to Joel, like in the UK. Like he was really like going the extra mile and trying to like give his own arcs like to people who were he thought like were really like showing excitement for it and whatnot. He was just like
Mm-hmm.
really worried that it wasn't going to do well. And I was just like, I think it's part of it is, it's a lot of it is inspired by like directly West, like specifically Igbo mythology.
Mm-hmm.
It's very readable. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's a queer Black kid and both of his
Yeah.
friends are Black. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a worry, and it's a very real worry that, because of just who your characters are,
Yeah. It's not
there's a
gonna.
worry that people aren't going to take to it.
Yeah.
I just like, how do we
That's
change that?
sad.
This book is beautiful. I mean, like the
Yeah.
color, everything in it is just.
I have not, but that's another one that actually has been doing well at the library.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
by
Blood Like
Lizelle
Magic has been doing
right?
well. Hmm.
It's by Lizelle Samberry, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to purchase the e-audio copy
Mhm.
for the library, but that bad boy is $100. That's an expensive e-audio book. Like I mean, e-audiobooks are already expensive, but that bad boy is still sitting at $100 for one copy. So
It says Bloodborne, which is like I think the next Legendborn. It says 2022, sometime in 2022.
All right.
It's not gonna come out like now. It should be coming out now because I feel like Legendborn came out.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah, it came out
Being
fall.
spoiled that like books tend to come out like a year. Like that's just me being.
Yeah, I do. I do expect a year in between, but that's unrealistic. Erin, if you can, I don't know if you listen to audiobooks like that. Listen to The Taking of Jake Livingston on audio.
Oh yeah, I've heard really good things about that one.
Oh man, the audio was.
I actually have to walk to class. Like I can use that, but then again, I'm so lazy because everything here is uphill that like I just started taking the bus.
Listen, you've got to listen to this book on audio. I don't know if I would have enjoyed this story as much if I did not listen to it on audio, because the voice acting was really, really good, and it makes the book really, really creepy. And it literally is, I think I saw Bethany's review, and she didn't realize that it literally is a possession story. It's great for October if you're looking for that fall kind of spooky type of book. I think The Taking of Jake Livingston is really, really great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a random one, but has anyone read Iron Widow?
Mm-mm.
It's getting so much buzz.
Who's it by?
Ciaran J. Zhao. It's like the polyamorous YA.
Wait. What's the cover look like?
My leg's asleep. You're gonna see me like hobble like on my face if I get up, but
hold on.
A really pretty cover.
I feel like I have an audio copy of that through Libro.
Yeah, I had one through Libro as well, and I'm hosting a virtual event for the author on Saturday. But the book is getting so much buzz.
Yes, I do have an e. I do have an e-copy.
Canadian author, and it's technically through Penguin Teen.
Okay.
Penguin Teen Canada. And so I had heard about it because there's this book called The Dark and Hollow Star that I'd read last year. By another non-binary author that I really liked, and that I ran the virtual event, and the author of Black Widow was friends with that author, and so they were watching, and we're like writing stuff in the chat, and then Ashley, the author of A Dark and Hollow Star, started talking about it. And so like I emailed the publicist like straight after, because like they were talking about how good this book was. And then they came back to like the publicist then emailed back and was like, oh, can they do an Instagram takeover or whatever? Like, we send you these pre-order pins. So it turns out the bookstore I work at, and then one other bookstore, are the only bookstores in the US that have the pins.
Oh, the pins. Yeah.
And so people are freaking out. Like, I mean, like I haven't even checked because like I'm afraid to check how many orders we've gotten, but people are literally calling us on the phone, like freaking out that they're not going to get their pins. And like at this point, we haven't even received the pins yet, and we didn't know how many we were getting. We're just like, we can't promise anything. But
that's cool. I'm excited to read that one.
It is really, really good. Like I think that it is really, really. I think I gave it 4 stars. Like I really, really liked it, but because of how much buzz it was getting, I think I was maybe, it's really sci-fi, not really fantasy. I think it was for some reason going and expecting some more fantastical elements as opposed to sci-fi elements. But yeah, I remember seeing. I should look up the art because I bet I'd appreciate it more now that I've.
No, Yanni, it's Iron Widow is a book.
No, you definitely are. You're thinking of the right one. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They've been because like also it has like there's like a little sort of there's a polyamorous relationship in there, and obviously that's very rare for YA.
Have y'all read Redemptor yet? Boy, that book was so damn good.
Oh,
man, Redemptor was so damn good. I cannot wait for Joanie Fuego to write something else. That's how amped I am over her. Like, Redemptor made me cry. First of all, books don't make me cry like that. As I probably put myself through too many traumatic books that, yeah, you know, y'all know how I am. I love a good trauma-induced book. But Redemptor was on a different level. Like I keep telling me, I was like, I don't know how to explain how beautiful Redemptor was. It was, oh my gosh, it was so good. If you have not read Redemptor, if you haven't read Ray Bear, damn it, like, what are you doing?
Because what's so great about that book is the world is so written that I don't think. I need to reread Ray Bear. I think I saw the audiobook, but I need to reread it. Otherwise, that.
Yeah, I definitely,
because I remember like vividly Jordan Afueco and then Roseanne A. Brown are like hilarious because I remember for the Social Distance Book Fest, both of them were on Bethany's panel, and they were so funny.
That's right, because Roseanne's new book comes out. I have an arc of it.
October, November, I think.
Yeah, it comes out in November. That shit is long, first of all.
Oh, it is? Well, the first book wasn't short either.
I gotta look at the page count because literally I got the arc and I was like, bruh, like, why is this book so long? And I'm interested in seeing how she's gonna work with that one because I was not the biggest fan of the first one. Let me see how long it is.
That's another one. That's the thing with most fantasies. I usually have to reread the first book before.
In order to
for Legendborn. Like as soon as they announce it, like I'm gonna have to because I loved that book. But even then, even with books I love, I still need to like even Sarah J. Maas books. I still need to reread the first book, and so like I usually have to like plan out so that I have like time
to reread. Yeah. I
scrolling through Ciaran Zhezhao's Instagram, Twitter because I know exactly what you're talking because I remember seeing them post like this fan art of it. And
okay, I lied, y'all. I think how it was advertised on Edelweiss was longer than what it really is. It's only 480. Because Edelweiss had a different page count listed, and I was like, "Why is this book so daggone long?"
That's sometimes what we use to place a lot of our orders through the publisher. That site is a mess.
It is a hot mess.
I was just like, how does how does this site that literally has you able to download a lot of books like that are also going to be like hot commodities? Like publishers like have this obviously like really against piracy. So I'm like, how is your site this much of a mess? Like a lot of them. People don't know that. Maybe I shouldn't even say it, but go ahead and say it. Like a lot of it, like you do have to, like for me, my account is like pre-approved. So I just have a download button, but for like bloggers and stuff, like you have to request it. But a lot of the time, if you click the links button below it, they've put like a whole PDF or an interior there. And I'm like,
yes. That's how I do with picture books. I don't even have to request it.
Exactly. They put with Iron Widow, the download button, but it had the PDF of it in the you didn't have to request it. I was like, people are just gonna post this like everywhere.
Yes, it is a mess. It's a hot mess. Like there was a couple picture books that I was reading, and I was like, why am I requesting this? Because I really don't need to request it. Okay, so actually, Goodreads has a page count wrong. It's either going to be between 560 or 580. That's a chunky damn book. I like
remember oh my god, remember Witches Steeped in Gold?
Oh no, don't bring that up. Like, man, listen, we both gave that a hard try. And we
Yeah.
both tried and tried. We're like, man, I just can't, like,
Yeah. Because
I'm
I
so
thought,
disappointed.
yeah, at first I thought it was just me, like, and that I just wasn't necessarily understanding the mythology
Hmm.
because, like, you were saying, like, you were getting it, but even you, I was like, okay, so it's just,
It was
but
just dry.
yeah, I will say though that there are a lot of people who do really love it, and a
Yeah.
lot of people who are not uh Haitian or even Black at all. And I think that's great. Am I surprised? A little bit, but I'm glad that people seem to be liking it. But I just thought it was so slow.
It was, man. That book was slow. Yeah, Shay, I had to process 5 new we have this thing in our system. I don't know how many systems do it where like they're called like fresh picks where you can get access to a book and you don't have to put it on hold. It's kind of like a first come first serve type of situation. So I had to process 5 copies of Blood Like Magic, and I did not realize that Blood Like Magic was so thick. Like, I didn't realize how thick the book was until
I
I
will
actually held it in my
say
hands.
that's a
It's
Simon and
thick.
Schuster one. Simon and Schuster like is like Legendborn, Blood Like Magic, Margaret Rogerson's books.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're thick.
they're thick, but they also, I think it's also because the font they use also tends
Okay.
to be a little bit
Yeah.
bigger than
Yeah.
average. Because I
Look at you getting a phone call during a live.
my little brother. Well, let me decline it. I feel bad though. Let me text him.
You can mute yourself and answer the phone if you need to.
Hold on. What's wrong?
Are you doing something?
Yeah, Yanni, I don't think you'll like it. To be honest with you, I'm like,
No, I was talking. He was just like, "Are you doing something?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, he was just like, "He probably needs help with his math homework."
oh, you can help him if you need to.
It's really, I'm just like, it's also just like, I'm like, or my parents are just like, he's literally having to like, probably like FaceTiming me to help him.
Yeah,
My
you can help
parents
him
are
if you
there, like
need
they
to.
probably have no idea how to.
That's not a problem.
I know, it's really cute.
But
Like,
Yanni, you won't like it.
Yeah,
I don't think you're gonna like it at all. Yeah, and yep, because I remember you didn't like it either. Yeah, it's too many people like who I trust in terms of like their reading taste they couldn't get through it. So yeah, no, like it, yeah,
It's in a
no,
very box. Like the edition I got was really beautiful, but
yeah, it's a beautiful book, but it's just the
yeah.
contents of it were just not. It just, I don't know, just wasn't my thing. Try not to drink
Yeah,
too much of
Bones
this.
of Ruin looks really good. I also saw Naya read it, and like the way she was just talking about it made me like really want to pick it up. It sounds really good. Have you heard of the Bones of Ruin?
No, I haven't. I ordered copies of it, but no, I just, oh my gosh, I feel like I have so much stuff that I need to be reading, and I just haven't.
I spent like a lot. I mean, I read a lot of books this month, but I'm not gonna lie, I read probably too many Elle Kennedy books this month, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got stuff because it's the thing. Like, it's really great to be able to get access to so many arcs, like as a bookseller. But a lot of it is with the expectation that if you like it, you're gonna submit like a nomination for Indie Next, and then they always have these deadlines that are like months in advance, and so I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Which is why I try to like send people as Betty, because like there are people who should be getting arcs that like aren't able to get them, and like own voices. I mean, I know we're trying to get away from using that term, but people who
would give a good perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And so oh my gosh. Math. Yeah, math homework.
Hang up.
I'm so glad I never have to take another math class ever again. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's long, and I really want to get the audiobook, but I can't justify purchasing it. Like, I promise y'all, because I also like on top of like on top of the physical books, I also order um the ebooks and the e-audio. I do that once a week.
Mhm.
And I promise y'all, every week I'm on overdrive, like, should I or should I not get this audiobook copy? Because I know that, like, I mean, man, like $100, like that's for one copy. You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh,
you only one person can listen to it at a time. It's not multiple
yeah.
copies.
No, I'm not gonna lie. So I have like the ALCs like through Libro, like so they have the
Mhm.
bookseller. So I get the bookseller version, and for some reason the bookseller version like is different than the I reviewer version.
Mine is different too. The librarian version is
Yeah,
different
I'm
from the
guessing the
reviewer.
librarian and bookseller ones probably have more
Yeah.
than the other version. So I got that, and then literally my junior year of high school, my mom and I we drove to the Women's March from Chicago to DC.
Mhm.
And so she bought like the Audible like thing, and she never canceled it for like years ago. And so I've just been like siphoning off like the Audible credits and then returning, like return them
I
because
was
it's
working that
Amazon, so I don't
system.
feel bad for it. So I don't feel bad about doing it. But I
Yeah.
just like listen and then like return 3 at a time and listen to them and return 3 at a time. Because I'm like,
That's what
you're
everybody
already
does.
making more money than you need. So like Amazon, not
Child, no. I do not want that job. I tell you that right now. I don't. Like
Ooh.
this. No. I'm not gonna even lie to you. Not my thing, not interested. I don't um I don't like managing people. I don't. Like that's not I don't like that. Like I love everything else about it, but managing people is not. I can do it. I've done it, but it is not something that I think is my passion point, and that's exactly what that would be.
Yeah, I remember
Unfortunately.
talking because like I interned at an agency this summer, and I've been talking like I was talking to an alum who's a manager, and then I was just
Mhm.
like looking at what an agent is. I was like, so can you like tell me like before I was like, what is the difference between what a manager does and what an agency does? It's like, well, like managers are more like long term for people's career. I was like, I don't know about that. And then she's like, really, like it's more like being someone's like personal. It's like being a lot of someone's personal therapist. And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
well, thank
no,
you.
yeah. Managing people is that takes a different. I mean, it takes a serious skill set to do that, and I just yeah, not my jam,
Is
not
that
my
how we
jam.
all use Audible?
Yeah,
We
that's how.
think we're less bad.
That's how everybody seems to use. I got rid of Audible, but that seems to be how everybody uses Audible.
It's my mom's fault, and I've told her this that she should cancel the subscription, but just keeps not doing it. Though she was like, I want to listen to more books. So like she does have. I did give her access to my Libro account, which has like
Hmm.
160 books on it.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to listen to more books. I was like, okay, go for it. Like she listened to How the Word Is Passed. I'm so glad she listened to
Oh
that book.
yeah.
Everyone needs to read that. It was just nominated for the National Book Award.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah, that one. She listened to Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford, and she loved that one.
Hmm.
She listened to Daisy Jones. I think she really liked that one. Just
Aaron, I do that too. Also, I forget that. I always tell people, yeah, I ordered. I also order AV. So yeah, yeah. So it's just I forget. I think sometimes like I work in collection development now, but I always forget like bits and pieces and parts of my job because I feel like I do so much that I don't remember like what I do until like I'm talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I forgot I do that too. Yeah, and then I do that. And then yeah, I do this too. And then I do that. Yeah. So yeah, I do. Any collection material related to youth 0 to 18, my responsibility.
if the Audible subscription is canceled, I don't know the 100% answer to this, but I would guess you still would be able to use them because you're technically have purchased the audiobook.
Mhm.
Like the credits, like you're paying for a subscription that gives you credits, and the credit is like your ticket to getting an audiobook per month, but you're still paying for the audiobook. So I would guess that you'd still have access to it.
Damn tequila. I'm trying not to drink too much. I
I
definitely do have to
I
get
made a
up.
rule for myself. I don't drink during the week just because of school, but
Yeah,
on
I
Friday.
should have that rule too. I really should. And
Well,
typically
when I
it's
have a real job, it's not going to be a rule because I'm sure I'm going to need it working with all these like actors.
not not you just said when I have a real job, that shit goes out the window. Like just forget it. That's funny. That is funny. I try not to, but man, if you've had a stressful day at work and I
There
bought this
are
big
days
thing
when
of
I will do
tequila.
it anyway. It's like one day I came out like at 10 a.m. It must have been a weekend still,
Yeah.
but like one of my roommates was just sitting there drinking red wine. I was like, she's like 20. I was like, are you drinking red wine? I was like, hold on, like, please tell me that's grape juice. Because you told me you had a lot of work and to keep you like, because I'm like, we're gonna like sit down and grind together because
Mhm.
like she needs some she needs motivation.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's like, yes. And I keep drinking. I was like, it's 10 a.m.
Listen, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and I bought this big thing of tequila this weekend, right? I did not drink as much as I thought I was going to drink. Like I still have like this thing is still. I didn't drink a lot of it at all,
People did bring
and
my favorite wine. Like I love Moscato d'Asti. Everyone's like, it's so sweet. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. That's why I like it. But people like brought me like for my 21st, like in August, people brought me like a lot of bottles of wine. And so my dad, like, because I have like a gift bag that I was putting in the car to like take to school, and he's like, can you not take that many wine? Just take the Moscato. And I was like, fine. But literally, like the alcohol I have the Trulies.
mm-hmm,
I have Moscato, and
mm-hmm,
I've got the Seagram ones, which
mm-hmm.
I think are so good. But again, they have like a pretty minute like alcohol content in them. Like
Yeah, because this bad boy is it's 40%. So I need to.
like 3.5.
Yeah, I'm sitting here throwing this stuff
Yeah,
back.
I'm also just like
Like,
usually the sober company. Like I'm also like I'm always a designated driver. Like I'm always like so I'm like and I don't mind being that.
yeah,
Like I'd rather someone be looking out for someone
yeah.
than no one at all, especially on a college campus where the frats are out of control. But yeah, I like sweet things. So
Yeah, nah, that I get dehydrated too quickly when I do too much. I'm more likely to get hungover or have a migraine if I do anything that's like super, super sweet, or even if I drink too much beer. Beer is funny for me. Like beer has me feeling like trash sometimes more so than liquor. And I don't know what that is, but wine, beer, and liquor drunk are three different types. I always say that they're three different types of drunks. Like they're not the same at all.
last August was the time I got drunk for the first time, and it was with the awful roommates before I realized that they were awful because like the one roommate, like cause she came from South Florida, and like back then like you had to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
She actually did quarantine for 2 weeks, and so she decided to have like a little like just with us
Mm-hmm.
like have like a bunch of drinks like when she was no longer had to stay in
Mm-hmm.
the apartment all day. And so she was like making us mojitos, and so she kept like refilling me, and I didn't notice because there was a lot of Sprite in it. And I
Mm-hmm.
come to realize I drank like 8 of them.
Oh damn.
And then I told my mom, because I FaceTime my mom, I was like, Mom, what did I do? And then she's like, how much did you have? And she's like, I was like, I think I had like 8 of them, maybe some shots. She's like, oh, honey, that much rum isn't good for anyone except a pirate. It was just like,
Oh, Aaron, yeah, not me, man. I'm no good. I tell you that right now. I am no good. I'm out for the count. I do nothing. I sit and I look at a wall. So I know myself. I can't. There are people who I know like who function very well.
yeah.
I am not one of those people. I am one of those people where I'm like, all right, I gotta be out. I need to get in my bed. I need to sleep. Like,
Yeah, that happens to me. Like, as I found out through that was a very high tolerance to have like been able to drink 8 of those. Like, last
yeah.
were like was big too. To have drank like 8 of those and like not be sick and like still be coherent, but I will get tired. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a fun drunk. Like, I will just like I'll be like laying on the couch, like because I'm just tired. Like,
Not Chris, you talking about onboarding his past. I'm going back to doubling on my medicine. Y'all are a trip, man. Y'all are y'all talking about, I only do the natural substances. Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. I definitely get it.
Right in a mojito, what in the
Yeah. Y'all put Sprite in the mojito?
Yes, it was. Well, I didn't make it. Well, she like messed up my blender making it too. She's like using like I don't know what she did. It was I'll tell you this. She was Greek. But yeah. I was also upset because I try not to drink because like I had this issue. Like I went through a lot of stuff in like high school and like found out like I was vitamin D deficient too, and so I was drinking like Mountain Dew, like all those like really sugary sodas, and like I was borderline diabetic, like, and like obviously I'm not anymore, but like I'm very careful about like that's why I also don't drink during the week because like I know that I like sweeter things, like I try not to drink all that too often, and then I also realized that she used regular Sprite too, and that I had 8 of them, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't have known. Like I would not have known. Like the only time I'd really like drank when I would go out was like if we were abroad because like the drinking age is like 18.
It's 18. Yeah. I haven't had a mojito in a very long time. When I went out this past weekend, I said I was sticking straight to tequila. And I'm proud of myself because that's what I did. I literally drank nothing but tequila all night, and I'm very proud of myself.
People I've known who have like got like my roommate who got like really like downed a ton of like tequila shots and got really sick. Like cannot smell tequila for like can't like be around like not want to smell tequila. Otherwise it will make them sick. Like I feel like that's more of a common like occurrence like with that particular
tequila Tequila could give you several different personalities. I remember somebody had DM'd me because I had taken it's somebody that I'm cool with too. Like it wasn't weird or anything, but I had put the picture of the bottle on Instagram, and somebody had DM'd me, and they were like, "So you trying to have your second kid or not?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I said, "I know tequila can do that, but I promise you,
oh gosh,
absolutely not." So I had drank tequila, and then I had this this place had this margarita flight, and it's 6 margaritas, 6 different flavors. It was like mango, strawberry, regular, spicy. I went to town with tequila this weekend. Me and tequila reunited because I hadn't drank. I stopped drinking hard liquor for a long time. Like I would do like the hard seltzer and like stuff like that. And I haven't bought liquor in a very long time, but I was like, I'm turning 30. I'm buying a bottle of tequila. And I'm like, it's going to take me so long. I keep looking at it's going to take me forever to finish this bottle. Like, it's going to be here for a minute.
Actually, I take it back. I'm just realizing it's drunk twice because I remember, I think I told Beth, I don't know if you've heard this story before, but because like last year, like during the presidential debates, like the time where you know who just like was in a was off his like even more off his rocker than usual, saying something because he's always off his rocker.
Exactly.
But I like downed a bottle of something, and I went on like Victoria's Secret, and apparently I ordered a bunch of lingerie. And then when it arrived, like I was in the package room and I saw I had a package from Victoria's Secret, and I like open it up and like I'm taking out all this lacy stuff and like thinking that, and I was like, Emma, some creep sent me
lingerie, and it was you.
Yeah. Because then I went away and I checked my and I went back to my email and I found the receipt.
Not you bought lingerie for yourself and forgot. That's hilarious. That is Aaron said 21 and only been drunk 2 times.
I go to
that's listen.
It's a little bit. You're either like, I feel like there's not too much in the middle. Like you're either like a big partier or you're not.
Yeah. I was at your age, I was a big partier. I'm not gonna even sit here and lie. My 21st birthday, I was shit-faced. Like, I was my friends intentionally, I remember because it was 2 of my close friends, and they were dating each other.
Oh, no.
And,
I'm like, I see where this is going.
it was great. Like, I liked them together. At the time, I had liked them together as a couple, and they were like, "We're gonna take you out." And I was like, "All right." So they took me out, and they started buying me fish bowls.
Oh, God.
And they were like, "Chug, chug, chug." I was so shit-faced by the end of the night. I went to my history class the next day, and my professor was like, because, it was at that point I was in like 400 levels, so the classes were super small.
Mhm.
And I walked in, and he's like, "You all right?" I was like, "I'm good." He's like, "You had a rough night?" I said, "I don't really remember." I was like,
Literally,
I don't remember. I was like, "I turned 21 today." And he was like, which now in hindsight, like, his comment was low-key kind of creepy, but I was so hungover and young at the time, I don't think I really thought of it. He was like, "Do you want to go out for more drinks?" And he was insinuating with him, and it didn't click. But now as an adult, I'm like, wait,
oh, God.
oh God.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a mess.
I will say, like, it was like Cornell. It's also like it is a bit. I went to a really crazy, like, it was awful, but like literally, like, I'm from the town that Mean Girls is based off of. Like, Tina Fey literally worked at the Y. Like, that's where she came up with these.
Yeah.
Like, so you can imagine what that school was like.
Yeah.
And like, so it was really hard. Like, when I come here and I say like having like my GPA like in high school is like probably like 0.5 points, like low, like it's night and day, but like it's still not an easy, like I think I do better than I think a lot of people who didn't necessarily go to that type of environment, and like where, an A there is much different than an A, anywhere else, but it's still it's still a very hard school. And like my dad would like my mom is like, does not like, she's like, lets my brother play his video games and like do whatever he wants, but like my dad would kick my butt like if I
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I think it's also a Nigerian thing. Like,
yeah.
I come to realize that I think Nigerian parents, I mean, my dad's the only one who's Nigerian. Like, my mom's very not Nigerian. But
That's an interesting way to say it. My mom is very not Nigerian.
she's a redhead from Atlanta. And so, and like obviously like they both grew up in like very different environments.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Night and day, like very different. Like it also is the thing, like when we got here, when we got to Cornell, like we were on like some type of tour, and my dad, because of the hotel school, there is like a 5-star hotel that's like really expensive and like famous, and so he literally goes into the hotel and it like asks, and we're like, he just like goes away from the group, like goes to the hotel, we're like, what are you doing? Like, please don't embarrass us. And then he comes out, we're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I just like went to try to get a reservation for Memorial Day weekend of May 2022. We're like, he's like, that's your graduation weekend. And we're all just like,
oh my gosh.
like, what? And he's like, we're like, did you seriously? He's like, well, no, they only let it for they like leave it for like the commencement speaker and like whatever.
Okay.
They already rented a house for my graduation weekend, and they told me this summer. So she's like, my mom was like, you better make sure you're actually graduating, that you have all your credits figured out, because we've already rented a house for that weekend.
That's a lot of pressure, though.
And I was just like,
this is straight face, like, I don't know. Nobody told y'all to do that shit that early.
and like it is a thing that like if it is you are only guaranteed, like as a student, you're only guaranteed housing for your first 2 years, which is a lot of other like private universities, I think, are 4 years. So housing is just like already an issue. Like most of us live off campus, but I still But yes, it's Ashley's birthday, everyone. This is what this is about. We should go back to talking about drinks and like going out on birthdays, and not my crazy parents.
We don't need to talk about drink. Kathleen, I'm looking at your thing right here. I was very aggressive.
Oh my goodness.
In college, I don't know. First of all, everybody knows like the physiology behind drinking, and whether you're a man or woman, how much you weigh, your height, and all that stuff plays a role. Well, I thought I was big woman on campus, and I would tell grown men, I can drink you under the table. And I have had some very not so great experiences because my mouth gets me into a lot of trouble. I went shot for shot with a guy once on tequila. I ended up taking 13 shots of tequila. That was a horrible night.
Poor gums.
Oh my gosh. I had one night where like me and a close friend, I don't know what we were thinking, but we split a bottle of Captain Morgan, drank beer, and then split a Four Loko. Like, when I tell you, I literally woke up the next morning and was so confused about so many things. Like, I was like, what?
Oh my gosh, Miss Serious. Oh God. I hope you were clearly not drunk enough to remember it.
Tequila and I have had a very strange relationship. It is my poison of choice. We get along very well. Sometimes we argue. But we like, but what's so crazy is that when I was in school, they had like Four Locos and stuff, and they stopped doing it because they were putting an energy component inside those alcoholic drinks. So literally a Four Loko used to cost like $2.50. You would drink one and you'd be fucked up all night. Like, so you want to talk about 17 years old going to college, you'd be like, I'll give you $3 to get me a Four Loko from the store. And you'd be set for the night. You'd be off your ass if you finish the entire can. Like, I can't imagine the things that I've actually done to my body when I was in school.
Yeah, I remember that like half of my college was like got cut because of COVID. So like literally could not go out. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, what was it called? Because I remember the night before my party, like when I went out with my friends, they thought it would be funny to get me to try, what's it called? Like Malark? I don't know. Some type of nasty, like.
That sounds nasty.
That sounds nasty. Someone know what I'm talking about? It's like some type of, maybe it's really a Chicago thing. I don't, but yeah.
Yeah, no.
And it was also because like this past weekend, we're like, just a couple days ago was homecoming. And so hockey.
Yeah, I would have been torn up, but continue.
Someone's like Malort. You mean, yeah, if you're not okay, if you're saying Malort, that sounds familiar. Like that's what it was, unless you're like putting the question marks, like, what is this girl talking about? But I think that's what because I thought but like yeah, that's the thing. Like it's also just because like y'all
don't make, if they make Four Locos now, I can't remember because I haven't looked for one in years, but it used to be Four Locos and this other drink called Juice. They don't sell them the way they used to sell them when I was in college, because it would literally, the damage that a Four Loko would do to your body, because it had an energy drink component to it, but it was also alcohol. So your heart rate in it by itself, your heart rate would be so high, and you get drunk like that. I have never, and they were disgusting. But kids used to get a Four Loko, drink that, and then drink more alcohol. And I was one of those kids that did that. I would
There's
drink a Four
literally
Loko.
a bar in College Town here called Loco, or maybe it's
Yeah,
Loca.
I
Yes,
just don't
Malort. It was
don't
nasty.
even do it. Like it's uh probably Shamla, it probably did, but I know it got banned because of the fact that the energy drink component was a part of it, and they realized how dangerous that was because you're drinking that cheap drink for $3. It's already getting you fucked up, and then kids would take shots. Like I did that once where I drank a Four Loko and I took like 6 shots on top of it. When I tell you, I literally could not see. Like I couldn't. I literally like. I remember going to a party at a club, and I had like my ID and I dropped it. And I was telling the girl that I was like, yo, I was like, where's my ID? She was like, Ashley, it's right in front of you. I said, I can't fucking see. I literally just could not see. Like it just is it was a dangerous thing for them to have on the market to begin with.
Yeah.
But it was a quick drunk. It was a cheap drunk, especially if you're in college, you're underage, you didn't want to pay $20. You're not working probably.
Yeah. To get
Or if you are working, you weren't getting a lot of money. So you didn't want to drop $20, $30 on a bottle. Like you didn't have the income to drop $20, $30 on a bottle of liquor. So someone says, oh, I'll make a gas station run and get you a Four Loko for $3 and you get drunk. I mean, kids were just drinking those things. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's why, like, that's also just like, cause my grandfather's really into wines and like all of that. So like, what if it's like, I have like, my boss is like, I have expensive taste apparently, like, or at least for a college student, like college students like Moscato, like me apparently, but like, yeah, but also to get like the alcohol content is so little, and it's like because I do have ADHD and I do take medication, like part of it is that I'm like being extra careful because of the mix of that and
it is
the best thing.
Oh, I have stories about Everclear. If somebody posted on Facebook the other day, if you were in college from 2008 to about 2013, 2014, you have stories about Everclear. Everclear was disgusting. It tasted like straight rubbing alcohol. And I don't know why we used to drink Everclear, but people used to make Everclear punch and would hide the taste of the Everclear. So people would drink it like they were drinking cups of juice and be completely just done. I mean, oh my gosh, Everclear, the memories from Everclear. It's so dangerous. It is disgusting. You could light it on fire. It's just so nasty.
Light it on fire. God.
Yeah, Kathleen. Man, yes, Jungle Juice. Did we go to the same school? Like,
I'm like sitting here like, what are y'all talking about? Like here,
they used to make this thing called Jungle Juice,
which means whatever you can buy at 7, like if you're either you can go to like the actual like wine beer, like you can go to Ithaca's version of Benny's, which is called Northside Wine and Liquor, or like, but you actually have to like drive to get there, or you just get whatever's at 7-Eleven, which is usually what the frats have, which is just like whatever your traditional beers and like White Claw and Truly, which I do like Truly a lot actually, but
Truly's not bad.
Yeah, but it's also because it's without any sugar in it, so like I don't feel bad about drinking it.
Man, oh man, oh man.
Interesting name. Junk.
I'm pretty sure Shamla it's higher. I can look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure. Oh, I don't drink Hawaiian Punch anymore because of that. By the way, I cannot drink when I drink Hawaiian Punch. I'm very fearful.
Hawaiian Punch.
Any Hawaiian Punch at this point, at 30 years old, I feel like when I drink Hawaiian Punch that there's alcohol in it. That's how traumatized I am from drinking Hawaiian Punch with alcohol in college. Because now whenever I drink it, or if it's offered, I'm like, man, this shit tastes like it's got alcohol. And it doesn't. But I'm just so paranoid.
That says Everclear and Hawaiian Punch in big trash cans. It was the party drink back in
the yes.
My mom told me Hawaiian Punch. Like she's like, don't drink Hawaiian Punch. That's cancer in a cup. She's like, because of the food color, and I was like,
it is 190 proof. Yeah, 190 proof. It's 92.4% ethanol by weight.
Oh
It
God.
is it's like drinking straight, like rubbing alcohol. It is disgusting, and it does so much damage. It does so much damage to so many people. Like I don't ever recommend drinking Everclear.
Yeah.
Oh, oil. I don't drink oil anymore either. I don't. So one of the frats, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, they make this punch for every party called oil. And it tastes like juice, but it gets you so mad. I just don't. I can't. I can't. I have so many bad stories attached to oil as well. Just saying. Just saying. Now y'all are taking me down like memory lane, like I'm
The
old.
same thing, Brie.
Yeah, yeah. It's a signature drink that's attached to Omega Psi Phi. That's all it is. Q's make it, and it's
Okay.
purple. Yep. Yeah, they got me in a lot of mess, and it didn't help that I pledged Delta. So I was definitely in the mix with them. I can't believe you brought that up. That makes me feel so old. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm really old today. Like I I remember that. And I have a wedding to go to next weekend where it's a Delta and a Q getting married. So I know it's gonna be off the chain. Like it's gonna be a mess, a hot mess.
Yeah, because it was homecoming here, so like a couple days ago. So and like even with all the events canceled, everything is just like
Yeah.
Especially the football because hockey. Like I was saying, hockey's the big thing here. The football team is awful. Like, but people are still like out of their minds. Like there's this one kid like who happened to be with our group who was just like going crazy. I was like, "How much did you have to drink?" He's like, "Oh, this is just me with one." And I was like, "I don't think so."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of the issue though, like, is like, the drinking age being 21 is like there's this kind of like this culture about doing something that you shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing. And then, people experimenting probably when they shouldn't be experimenting when they're away. Because, a lot of the time in college, you're people you don't know who your real friends are. And there are people who will leave you behind, who will leave you behind and not be a true friend to you.
I'm glad you recognize that now, because most people, it takes them a minute to realize like everybody that you meet in college is not your friend at all.
Yeah, exactly.
At all. And it usually comes out in situations where you should not be left in certain circumstances. And it's unfortunate that that's when like true colors start to come out. But I've seen too many people get left in situations that they should not, especially women.
Yeah, that's part of it because like for me, like there are people who just love and that's totally fine, who just love drinking, who love, what they feel like when they drink, who just like love the act. Like that's a legitimate thing. And like, I'm not one of those people. Like, I don't mind not drinking. So I don't mind being the person who's making sure people are okay and like can drive people home. Like, I don't mind doing that. Just because A, I really don't mind, but B, also the alternative is so much worse.
It is.
I just feel like someone in your group should always be that person.
Yeah, someone should always. I had a friend in college who was like straight, like, I mean, I called her my roadie, but like she looked out for me in a couple of situations. Like I remember we went to I forget what the bar, like what it was called, but they used to have this power hour is what they called it.
Of course it's called Times.
They had an hour called power hour, and like drinks were like super cheap from 9 to 10 o'clock.
Ooh.
And I wasn't my intention to get as wasted as I did, but I got like stupid wasted. We went to another bar and I drank there, and she was like, all right. She's like, I'm gonna because we walked from our dorm. She's like, I'm about to figure this out because you cannot you don't need to stay, and I'm not going to leave you in this situation.
Yeah.
So, you know, like Yanni said, like, you got to find your real friends before you go out partying, because some people leave you in some really shisty situations that you don't need to be in. And I've seen young women like that, even if I had gone out and I wasn't really drinking like that, and I'm like, yo, like, who are you with? Like, you know, I don't know you, but you're a young woman walking around the college town wasted off of your ass. Clearly.
Yeah.
Who are you with?
And it's funny because here, like, even like with all the, you've got like the Ithaca PD, and then you've got like the Cornell Police Department. You'll get like, it happened just like a few days ago. You'll get emails from the department like, okay, let me find one. Like, it is like saying like, oh, burglar alert, or
Yeah,
like,
we used to get those too. Yep.
oh yeah, no, I got like on September 18th, I got a notification, crime alert, burglary / fondling, 2000 block College Avenue. At approximately this time, a report of a female who had been groped through an unlocked first floor window by an unknown male.
Oh, shoot.
And like, you get this all the time. And like, College Avenue is like right there.
Yeah.
Like, people, it's like, you know, it's a real thing, like, that people will take. Like, there are a lot of people who, you know, who don't go out walking at night, who take the bus, or who will take a car or whatever, because the things that people will try to pull are, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's rough. The stuff that people will do. I pledged spring of 2012 was my junior year of college. Is when I pledged. Yep, and I'm 10 years in the game next year.
I would not have been able to handle Rush in any capacity.
Let me tell you, Rush. Okay, so Rush and pledging what we call a BLGO, which is or
oh my god,
or is it BGLO, Black Greek Letter Organization? Like, tell me if I'm wrong, Adrian, like how I'm saying that, because I'm actually just a tad tipsy. There, it's super different. I helped with Rush because I was a vice president of NPHC, so I had to work with NPC and IFC. And part of my duties was to help with Rush, and it's super different. You find like historically Black Greek letter organizations are very secretive. Our processes are very under the radar. We don't say much of anything. What we go through is extremely different than historically white fraternities and sororities. The bonding is different because you are forced into situations where you have no choice but to get to know like your line sister or line brother, which is the equivalent of someone being in the same pledge class as you. It's not as many of us that pledge at one time. Like, my line was a decent size. It was 29 of us, but we had to know each other inside and out. And you pledge for a minute. It's not, you know, Rush is kind of, you do that shit over a week and then you're in your org. Whereas with us, you pledge over a series of months, and then you go through initiation, and then you become, and the whole time people are not supposed to know that you're even going through your process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's extremely different. I try to tell people it's extremely different. Because I think sometimes people think that they're the same, and they're so not. They're not the same at all. At all. Yeah, I like stopped going to conferences and stuff. I mean, I should be more active. Because we are not just for college, we are for life. Yeah. Like, I still communicate with my line sisters to this day, and we're almost 10 years in the game. Like, so it's not just something that you do in college and then you kind of go off into the sunset and you don't talk to them anymore. It is a very intimate and interesting experience. Of course, you know, you could ask somebody what their pledge process was like. Most people, I'm not going to say all, most people are not going to tell you what they went through. I never tell people what I went through. I just say I'll never do that shit again.
Yeah, I was just like curious, looking at like people are like talking about the first floor window thing, like, because I was looking at this because this was sent like in the morning, so like I'm guessing like this happened like in the broad daylight. They probably had their, because it's really, most of the like apartments and stuff here are not air conditioned, so they probably had the window open because it was hot, and it was like in the morning, so some fool like literally like in the middle of the day, like, yeah, I can't imagine being that person. It's just also just like literally putting your hands in through a window, like,
yeah, that's,
geez. And like clearly because it was sent by the police department, like that's literally what actually happened. Yeah, people are.
Do y'all have any more questions? I'm not gonna hold us too long because I know I have to be up. I have to be at work at 8 o'clock.
Too. I have French class bright and early at 10:10.
Yeah, I have to be up.
Which like doesn't seem early for me, but to use the part of my brain where I have to actually speak a foreign language, it kind of is. Yeah, I think about like books, life, and repeating answer, but
well, if all is quiet, Isabella, thank you for joining me.
Yes, happy birthday. Happy 30th birthday, Ashley.
I appreciate it. It's always nice spending time with y'all during, because I did this last year. I was live for my birthday, but times were different then. Yeah. Nobody was working really in person like that. So, we're all back now to the same old. So
yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the birthday wishes for everyone. I know I wasn't able to respond to everyone that wished me happy birthday, but I really appreciate it. I got like an hour and a half left. It's been I will say this, that has been a really solid day. Although I spent most of it in a car dealership, I think that I do think that I think I got to enjoy my weekend, and I think 30s are going to be good. I keep hearing from everyone that 30s is one of the best decades, that everything just makes sense in your 30s. So right now, things are smooth. Things feel good with my 30s. So hopefully it'll continue that way.
Yeah. And I was going to light you a candle and like put it on. My roommate got like really stressed. And so she stress baked this gigantic cake, but I couldn't find the matches in a little glass vial, and I didn't know like light it. So like,
it's all right. It's all right.
But
I am, Josh. I am excited. I think there's some interesting things happening right now for it to be like a new decade. Like, I am, just to share a little bit, I'm going through the home buying process. I'm in a new position at work. I am. Isabella's getting a phone call. I feel like I feel a little bit more confident about me. I feel like, my love life is a little interesting. So, it's been good. It's been good so far. I can't complain. And everybody keeps saying 30s is a fun decade. Like everything makes sense in your 30s. And I feel that way. I feel like everybody keeps telling me like everything just makes sense. Everything makes sense. And 20s were very fucking confusing for me. So I am ready.
Yeah, I'm already confused.
Yeah. 20s are very much so about trying to figure out who the fuck you are. And I feel like your 30s, like you're set. Like you are confident in the person. At least it's the way I feel so far, is like, granted, I've only been 30 for 22 hours. But I do feel like building up to 30, I have felt this is a place where I have felt most confident in myself. And I feel very comfortable. And if you don't like it, it's kind of like chuck the deuces, like, fuck you. That's your problem, not mine. I think my 20s were definitely not like that. My 20s were very much so trying things out, trying to, figure out who I was, trying to fit in. And right now I'm just at a point where I'm like, yeah, I just don't have the patience for that shit. So
yeah. I think my big sister duties are calling. That was the little brother.
Yeah,
And he was homework. But I will say that you are like goals. You have like a beautiful little girl. You have an incredible career. You like have created this like amazing online community that all of us feel included in and taken, which is not, I feel like not too common around the internet these days.
Yeah.
And we literally just spent like 2 hours just like having
just
fun.
Chatting.
We've still never met in person. And
exactly.
Like, we just work out, but everything is. But yes, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Giving you virtual
birthday love hugs. I got you.
Your birthday present is Jason Reynolds. I will love that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, y'all.
Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out, y'all.